Children bouncing on trampolines while their parents snack poolside. People formerly trapped in cubicles are now out hiking and biking and enjoying natural light produced by the sun. Dogs enjoying more playtime with their masters because their masters are homebound nowadays. And at the same time, healthcare professionals working tremendous hours because duty calls. Businesses laying off skilled workers because the revenue has frozen. Altercations breaking out in grocery stores over the last bundle of toilet paper while the elderly watch. These are all experiences that are happening simultaneously. My friends, we are all in an awakening. It's a worldwide transition from what was to what now is the new normal. I don't think the reality of the health risk facing our communities is fully understood by everyone, and that includes me. Our natural proclivity at this very hour is to survive and manage the changes to the best of our ability without losing a foothold or our sanity. We don't want to lose our grip, the traction we've spent so many years to build up to be in the places where we are now. How we manage is an individual thing that will have an influence on collective results. But let me give you the first of many truth bombs today. We can spread ideas and hope just as fast as the coronavirus spreads itself. Some of us watch the news and, we're trying to disseminate what's fact, what's fiction. Some of us are more germ phobic, so the idea of staying in the house, being isolated, is not that big of a deal. They probably would love to stay in a hazmat suit if that was the need. Some of us are passionate about our liberties and will defend them to the degree of pushing back if anyone chooses to encroach upon them. And yet and still, some of us just want to escape all this altogether by going to the world of Netflix. Sometimes maybe even just watching classic movies that are emotionally satisfying because the reality of today feels ominous. We're just trying to survive and process it at the same time. Recently, I have learned that some beloved family members have tested positive for COVID-19 and are fighting for their lives due to this virus. To hear and see the pain etched in the faces of my relatives as they recount the stories through Facebook Live is a real gut punch. It's reality. It's an unscripted nonfiction that I'm seeing play out right in front of me. One of these people fighting for their lives on my mother's side of the family is a police officer, a public servant. Now, we can discuss all day why there's more severe attention being put on this particular coronavirus over all the others that preceded it. We can also discuss all day the economic impact of COVID-19. And to be fair, it is a conversation that needs to be had because of the things that we're going to learn right now and then the ways that we're going to think post-COVID-19. But to be sure, I don't think it's as profitable to be led around by the nose by the circumstances of life, whether they're dire things or great things. In fact, I think it's more profitable to understand that life exists and that we get to co-create the type of life that we can flourish in. That's agency. Now, if I could speak as a behavioral scientist for a moment, I can tell you that our natural human proclivity kind of goes like this. First, it starts out with a thought, and then once we've thought about something enough, it then becomes a feeling. And then if we germinate on that feeling, it will yield and produce an attitude. And then that attitude will give birth to a behavior. So let's look at behaviors. Here's some good ones. Let's just stop and recognize how blessed we still are in the face of this pandemic. I mean, we live in a country where you can actually hoard toilet paper. Let's stop and ask ourselves, hey, what can I do that's just in the face of the wrong that's being perpetrated and that's attributed to this particular virus? How about we be visible to our neighborhoods and our communities? And if we have that luxury of working from home, teach the kids. Do it. If we have the financial ability to help those who can't work right now, do it. If we have the resources to donate food to food banks and any type of items that would be helpful to those who are on the front line, those who are in healthcare, those who are in the service industry, do it. And this might seem trite, but really it's not if you go with me. Hang with me on this. If you haven't called a neighbor, friend, or a relative in a while, and maybe there's some bad blood there, pick up the phone. Do it. What's interesting is you'll find out really quickly how reaching out to someone else who's feeling alone now realizes that they're not alone at being alone. We're all feeling this on many different levels, some we can't describe. You know, as days go by, I can't help but to think that God, like a good parent, is intervening on our behalf. He's showing us what we really treasure and value, and he's showing us how we really treat each other if things were to get dire. I think we have forgotten that the world is an expansive community. It's not supposed to be pockets of I-filled people who think that in order to prevail, others must lose. We've also forgotten how to just slow down, smell the roses, savor things, enjoy the little things, the small things in life, the real blessings, right? Because life isn't a sprint, it's an ultra marathon. And I think we've forgotten that we are our brother's keeper. And again, like a good parent, I think God has given us the gift of time to reflect, to think, to meditate, and see more clearly what actually does lead to a joyful life. I mean, when was the last time you had a rich, full-bodied, organic, crunchy conversation about the things that mean the most in life with the people who mean the most to you? In closing, I'll just say it like this. I think we all have what it takes to inspire and encourage one another while we manage these events now happening during COVID-19. Let's not forsake the idea of existence in the first place. The idea that each and every one of us comes preloaded with talents and strengths, discernment even. And that thought alone should comfort us as we then socially distance while trying to remain in a community. Yeah, to conclude, we don't need the Avengers. We don't need the Justice League to come in here and save the day against the big bad virus. No. Instead, I implore each and every one of you who are watching this particular message to lean more into what you already are gifted, what you already bring to the table, and with intention, help combat the effects of COVID-19. You see, the question is going to become, hey, what did you do during the events of COVID-19? And then you might ask yourself, hey, how do I want to be remembered as someone who lived through COVID-19? Well, I'll say it this way. Your input, as well as mine, is needed. And if not now, when?